GM, guys. Do you hear me well?
Yeah, we
What's
can
up?
GM.
I posted a pretty cool thing, by the way, on ETH.
Yeah, I've just seen the post. I'm just checking now.
Yeah, I was going over like some key metrics. I mean, the volume traded, at least on this ETH move up, is unironically fairly significant.
Yeah, actually, if it looks good for me. I mean, I'm surprised with its strength, to be honest.
Hey,
So,
you know what's
like,
funny? I'm pretty sure you were actually buying ETH around the bottom, weren't you?
Me? No. I wasn't if buyer. I was hype buyer, which is also doing pretty well. I'm considering closing the position, but I don't know. I'm not sure. The best trade so far I had recently was Titcoin, still holding a juicy 3x position.
Well, you made a 3x on it.
Yeah, currently I'm up 3x.
Yeah.
Yeah, with
this,
okay-ish size. It wasn't like $100, so it actually means something. So all good. But yeah, feels like soon there will be a market where I have some edge and I know how to trade and be profitable. So yeah, hopefully I'll share more insights in Cantina. Are you Skew going to share your screen because we don't see it now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Any good trades, guys, from your side?
I mean, honestly, I've not traded this week.
Okay.
I've had a couple, on an intraday basis, but not the bigger moves. And I was like either off my computer or just got from trend or something. But overall, it's just crazy to think about, right? That exactly a month ago, April 9th, we were at 74K. It's just let's put it in
Yeah,
context,
true,
right?
true. That is
Yeah,
true.
I mean, Bitcoin's above 100K and my portfolio is down still like 60, 55% from all-time high. But with
Yeah,
the
I mean,
easy mode,
we can see that.
we cannot run it turbo back. Yeah.
I mean, when we look at like total 3, right? I mean, you can see. Oh, wow, that actually moved a lot. I was looking at this yesterday, and I mean, the ETH move only came like fairly late in terms of buy time. Like it was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 a.m. or something like that. But it was like nicely consolidating. And I mean, how much are we still down from quote unquote like the peak?
I mean, I just
Like
pray
21%.
for keeping the 2100 on ETH. I don't know much about the market, but every trader I know says it's important level. So yeah.
Yeah, let's have a look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, but guys, if we have the proper market now and if it's going to perform, it will be such an easy mode. And AI meta is becoming hot again. So if you don't buy absolutely dog shit, you can make a lot of money in that meta. Yeah, virtual is so strong. I hate this token. I lost so much money on virtual, but it's so strong. It was like up 42% today and yesterday. Incredible.
Wait, what token?
Virtual, it's virtual protocol.
Oh, virtual, yeah.
Yeah. When I woke up this morning, it was like up 42% in
Okay.
24 hours. Yeah, now it's like 25%, which still is like decent move.
This is very much like your usual TGE. Like it basically tops out a little bit after when they TGE, token gets listed, etc., and then it goes down like usually minimum like 60%, 91% down. It's like about
So I
perfect
mean,
sweet spot to buy.
TGE, they had the token for quite a bit of time. They've been doing some gamify and they switched, they pivoted to crypto. I spotted them at 20 cents and ride it all the way up to 4.6. Yeah, then I sold and doubled
Damn.
down on the position at like 3.6, and then I capitulated at like 75 cents. Yeah, so brutal trade for me. I grand tripped at like very meaningful money on this shitter. But from AI Meta, this is not a financial advice, and do your own research and blah blah blah. But there are a few tokens that actually have some decent tech, and they're still down, but the charts are starting to looking good, like Arc, like Ray. I don't have Ray at all, but I have Arc.
Like Radium?
No, ARC. I don't think you will have it. Yeah, it's on Binance Perps, so it should be. I think it's Binance Perps. It was a very. They have decent tech. Yeah, I think you need to use Dex Screener to be on. Oh yeah, you have on Binance. Yeah, so they have really decent tech, and they were like at some point very big on CT. And my personal bet is that those tokens which had the greatest mindshare, like Virtual, like AI16Z, like Arc, those are the most likely to go back basically and run it back turbo. And I don't know, I like this chart. It tickles my balls a bit.
You get the gambler tickle, as they call it.
Yeah. But I had the tickles, on Titcoin, and this is the kind of market when I'm strong and I know I can do some numbers.
Fair enough. The chart does look interesting. I mean, it's around like your key level. Like you have like the move down, then it retests from underneath. It's obviously rejection,
I,
and
I
then it
mean,
made the lower low, but it didn't continue lower. Obviously, with most of the market as well, kind of came back up, and now it's
yeah,
retesting this area.
yeah. It was lagging quite a bit. Another strong token from AI Meta is Ava. Uh, I think they announced the product
Like
yesterday.
AVA.
Yeah. So with Arc, I entered the position around like 55 cents. That's my average entry. Yeah, another. It's on a strong
Nice.
support. I'm not sure if you are watching. Could you yeah, make the chart, oh my god, zoom out so I could see if that's the token. Yeah, it's not that token, sir.
I don't know what this is, to be honest.
I have no idea what's that, to be honest. Let me send you the link, because there are like a few on Binance. It should be Ava AI probably. Yeah, I
With
know a
them, yeah.
few. Yeah, a few decent traders watch that. Okay, so I posted the link onto the dex screener on in the chat. Yeah. hmm So you can type Ava AI, maybe it will show up. Yeah, so this is the chart.
That's a radium. That's fire pump fun. Probably it won't be on
Yeah, I
trading.
mean,
Probably not.
if we are going to
What
have
even is
another
this?
AI meta, I have conviction that it will be one of the leaders.
It is 101 FTV. Interesting. What did it top out at? Like 300. Yeah, it's about right. I mean, it's already had quite a decent move up.
And
Yeah,
decent
usually,
down.
well, I mean, yeah, like this was the bubble, right?
Yeah, so basically, guys from my cabal, they've been hunting that around like 30-40 mil and get rid of majority of the position at like 80, and they would love to see it at like 60-55. So that remains the goal, to re-enter the position basically. Yeah,
Makes sense.
but I don't
Yeah,
know.
like
I don't know
when you have
what's.
a grind higher like this, especially in alts, generally the time it succeeds, where like grind up and then it like pops like that, is because there's like a huge narrative behind it, whether it's big news, new feature, new product, something like that, which drives the token price higher.
Yeah, so my insight, because I spent like almost 3 weeks in Dubai, and like insight from Token 2049. So there are two topics that people are discussing: AI, and if you want to buy an audit from Indian guys. So I don't think the second one can become a major narrative into space.
Fair enough.
Yes. So yeah,
I've seen,
that's pretty much all from my side. We can check hype and poor later, and yeah, Fartcoin is obviously a decent one to see. But recently, I feel like it lost its strength, like relative strength.
relative strength. Maybe. I mean, it's still
BDC.
grinding in like a nice uptrend. It hasn't gone like ballistic yet, in my opinion. I mean, it's really clean one day uptrend. We reclaimed the yearly open as well. That's
Yeah,
a big one.
but the rotation from Fartcoin to Titcoin is like it's sure. I mean, like how many times per day you think about fart and how many times you think about titties. Yeah, so that's
I
my
mean,
investment.
how many times
That's
a day do you fart? You know.
well, on average, healthy woman should healthy human should fart around 20 times, but majority of those happens when you're asleep. That's what research says. Yeah.
Interesting. So a trading strategy could be what, like buy fart coin when the burgers are asleep, essentially.
Yeah.
And then
Another
profit off
thesis of
that.
mine was like every time when I was taking a cup in Dubai, it was so smelly inside of it that I was thinking, okay, it's time to long Fartcoin because like everyone will remember about Fartcoin, think about Fartcoin. Yeah.
The
Okay,
fart
guys,
coin
like
plague. That's funny.
you Skew, Mr. Robot, show some, smart stuff. It's enough of my, degenerated stuff.
No, not
Uh,
at all. I think that's exactly the time when these things should be. I think we have suffered a lot from like um, literally no movement in alts or around alts, and now it's the time. And yeah, by the way, Q, just to give like a frame for the stream, I'm just curious your thoughts on what catalyzed this move. Like, we had a pretty dull and quiet Monday and Tuesday, obviously in anticipation for the FOMC. And then this spike, which is again telling itself, despite Powell being hawkish, at least I think his speech and the interview was hawkish, literally. Yet market held up and just, ripped.
I think the market once again is kind of pointing out the Fed's behind, essentially. Just how like they fucked up on the pivot, right? So they cut too soon, and then again they're gonna cut too late probably when like shit hits the fan. So I think like markets are forcibly pricing that in, as in like more cuts to come whenever there's turmoil, essentially. And then like secondly, it's just market positioning, really. Like the dominant positioning has basically has been hedges and shorts the past like 2 months roughly. And then obviously when you get any kind of positive trade news, that triggers a bunch of unwinding, and I believe that was most of this move. And then secondly, there was also news around like AI and chips, essentially, which is bullish for any digital asset as well as big tech. So that is like the narrative, more or less.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. And by the way, just now you zoomed out, and just for BTC, the levels we are, and again the market positioning, we could see like
Yeah,
I think around an 8% decrease in OI, or about maybe even more aggregated for BTC, because. And if you think back or look back, I think it was either 24th or the 31st of January, Friday, when market first shit itself, when the first tariff news dropped.
yeah.
I think even before, even end of January, so beginning of February, when really I think the first headlines or interviews, yeah, that's and we are back at that level basically, and squeeze the shorts all the way up there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this candle here. I mean, I tweeted a little bit about it.
Because it was massive, also the liquidation spikes as well as the coming down, OI coming down.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bad news, guys, is probably the sell in May and go away isn't the play this time. So we're gonna spend summer in Cantina Discord trading together. I mean, I don't mind.
That is true.
I don't
sounds
mind.
good. Sounds good for me, but yeah.
It's not a dead chop, then I'm all in for everything that moves.
TradFi boys in jeopardy.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, when we had the initial, I think, yeah, it was here, I believe. So like the break of 100K was volumetrically big. Like, I mean, it's changed a little bit now, but it was about 1 to 2K. Bitcoin basically just smacked. Like someone bought essentially 2K BTC at market price, which is why we broke up, and that changed flow like a lot. And what's interesting is, especially in like the second panel here, I'll like move this across a little bit. You can see this bid here, like it's small. It's only 51 BTC, but usually when they quote that, it suggests that's a level of interest, right? And also price swept that, and we actually consistently held that. That's when passive flows came in, and that's when obviously we ran all the way up to almost 105,000, which is a big move. Like that's another massive move. Yeah, and it's also in confluence with takers buying at market price. So now if we step back to the news and the big headlines, we know this was the big shift that led people to have, I think, two things: like confidence to buy the asset at market price expecting higher value, right? And then secondly, the optimism, which we can see simply by change in market sentiment and market positioning, right? So like, obviously this move through 100K wrecked like a lot of shorts just alone on Binance. And then obviously the rest got blown out here. And now we're actually at neutral market rates, so neutral funding, right? So that's pretty important. So yeah, the past month of streams essentially, or even like 2 months of streams, where I consistently said that the market's like net short, right? That's gone, right? So the market is no longer net short, and more likely to be net long, which is something to keep in mind. Because when a market's obviously net long, you want to see spot buying leading price, right? You don't really want to see like stagnation in momentum. So we want to see this trend consistently continuing from this point onwards. If it stalls, I'd be looking for signs that the market's like heavy, right? That would be like your first sign essentially to start realizing profits across the board.
Makes perfect sense. Given it's a Friday, what I think many crypto guys are expecting is BTC like forming a decent consolidation range here between like 102 and 104.5 or something like this. And so alts could run like hard over the weekend. That would be the classic 2021, right? Nature of market. And
True.
then what happens, as you said, based off maybe long spiling in for BTC here at not necessarily a local top, but at such a place, then it could definitely, the risk would be to the downside.
Yeah, true. I mean, we can have a little game theory, right? So we have our initial high, that was the peak, and then obviously we ran and swept it into inauguration, formed like a little bit of distribution top, you can call it, right? Now we're pretty much testing the exact same supply zone, right? which is going to be important because if it's a truly bullish market, and like historically what Bitcoin does is it consolidates under this resistance before it just breaks straight through it, especially when it comes to like massive narrative news, essentially when the tide shifts, so to speak. So like there's a few big things this month that could trigger that. Like lower CPI could be massive. It could basically mean the price pressure and inflation's actually lower than expected. That'll be like huge for risk assets. That'll probably push Bitcoin up because of the correlation to equities and big tech. And then secondly, if the data's not actually as bad in June, and then you also have positive signs of trade talks happening between the US and China, or even the US and Europe, that would be obviously very bullish for stocks and probably bonds. So then that's good for like the US economy and so forth. So there's a nice ramp up to a change in the market, a change in narrative as well. But obviously, not really the time to get too ahead of yourself, and basically stick to looking out for confirmations. I think confirmations are really key from like here onwards.
And now that you're talking about the trade negotiations, so yesterday I was watching live Trump's interview with after the UK deal, which when I was watching that, and then obviously I logged off after that by the way, it sounded to me like a little bit overrated. So that was not a big deal at all.
Yeah, correct. Historically, it kind of is. It's like the first transatlantic trade deal since Brexit, if I recall correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like big, but it's not comparably big in terms of goods and trade to the European Union or China, right? Which points to the most obvious, right? Market positioning was way too defensive and was not anticipating a move like this. And we can see that because VIX was like massively sold. Like VIX is literally all the way back down to like 22 now. That's good, obviously, for risk as a whole. I think like also it's going to be pretty interesting because this area is kind of key for SP 500, right? Then you also have like 5,700 level as the pretty obvious point of resistance. Right? It's like this low, that lower high, right? This general area, and then it's like even more obvious on ES because we have the exact zone, right? So we can see ES briefly front ran it yesterday, and now actually running up to it again. So it's going to be really interesting from here onwards. Like obviously, I'm looking for both angles, right? Which is the market rejects value higher. That's like my cue to basically take some risk off the table and reevaluate, right? If it doesn't and gains momentum, then there's decent odds the market actually remains pretty strong, above 5,700s. That would honestly be the unexpected move. I think. I don't think the market expects. I don't think the market expects like 5,800 for example, right?
Most likely not. So definitely a key session to watch today for S&P at least. I expect BTC might be a little bit more quiet, but S&P definitely.
Yeah. ES will be the focus. I think like TradFi is the focus. BTC should consolidate, but also with like flows and whatnot. I found flows actually very interesting. I was looking at it earlier. I'll shut this tab. So if you look at the left column with IBIT specifically, right? we can see they've been largely quite big buyers. So I've been thinking, they probably changed in terms of how they position when it comes to Bitcoin now, so that they're like more close to like risk on, risk off momentum model, right? Which is important to know. So when they're buying, their models essentially see momentum behind price. Yeah, meaning they see a good bang for their buck at this moment, or like a risk on signal, right? So I don't know when they're going to start selling again, but obviously we can see the inflows have dropped in recent days. Obviously makes sense because Bitcoin is trading around key resistance and market supply, right?
Correct.
So then going forward, IBIT flows actually do become important in terms of outflows, and as well as when price trades pretty heavy and there's some pretty heavy flows from like Coinbase. I think that'll be interesting and probably quite obvious that it's ETF related selling. And I don't know if it's going to spook the market or not, but it'll be interesting. It's basically edge at this point because people aren't talking about it.
It's a very interesting detail, though. Yeah, it's definitely the nature of this compared to the previous structure or their behavior of buying has changed, right? So this,
Yeah, it definitely has.
Yeah. So more often you saw like those big numbers coming right at the local top, and now it's running for days now and still lower numbers. So yeah, that's definitely a shift here, or compared to previous behavior of the ETFs.
I mean, yeah, because they're kind of retardio for this, but they use the exact same models that were trading on like the NQ, like NQ futures, right? So it makes sense that there was such a strong correlation on like certain days when it comes to IBIT. But also what they figured out is that model obviously lost them a lot of money, right? And that's the biggest principle for them changing the model that they use to trade with now, at least when it comes to Bitcoin, right? Because they're two separate markets. They trade differently, despite the correlation because of money flowing between the two markets.
I think that could be a huge edge moving forward for Bitcoin for the next couple of weeks to see how this develops. And by the way, back to the trade talks stuff. Interesting, or not? Well, at the same time, not that interesting, because again, the China-US trade talk is going to happen on a Saturday when the cash session is closed, but crypto is going to be open, right? So it's I mean, again, I don't think we should be sleeping on headlines and X or bigger tweets and X from Besant and from that group of during the negotiations. What was the outcome? So that's definitely I'm gonna watch on Saturday.
Damn, guys, I was hoping for a chill weekend.
Probably not.
Yeah, seems like I'll need to watch the charts. But would you the risk here, or this is the place where you're happy to carry the risk and see where it goes? What's your like?
I would say like
BS?
Cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously optimistic. Okay.
Yeah,
like,
that's good. I think that's good summary.
Let me go to my.
I mean, there are some positions that I'm probably getting to get rid of, and yeah.
I forgot what I was experimenting with here, but what even was I doing? 20-week, 200, 200. Oh yeah, it's testing. So this, by the way, is kind of market edge, but this is a winning like strategy when it comes to equities, essentially. So it's like technically, right? The first risk on signal actually came here, right? With the 4-hour 200 EMA, right? The higher time frame is essentially above the 20-week, right? So we're like fighting for that at the moment in terms of systematic value. And then with like a 1 day close above the 200 day, that tends to kick off like high time frame trends. Like around here. So we obviously test it in a bear market and it rejects. But yeah, like something like that zone is pretty good example in terms of change from systematic downtrend in a high time frame downtrend to high time frame uptrend and systematic uptrend. Yeah, that's one of the things I'm looking for at the moment is key signals when it comes to high time frame trend and the systematic trend. I'll get rid of that. Yes, like these are basically the key levels. Wait, was it this one? Wait, what? Should have saved. Wait. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, so for ETH, obviously being above 2.2 is really important. The floor should be 2K now, right? So if we see like a pullback to 2K, that's like your final stand for bulls. That's where bulls would need to grow some balls and essentially defend the market, right?
Yeah, so bulls need to stand up there. But is it like 2K is the place where you would like to take a risky long, and basically if it goes down, cut the loss very quickly, but if there is upside, like keep it for a longer time swing trade?
Honestly, I think that's already happened. The zone we should be looking at now is this area, which is essentially the previous lows, right? So I want to see a consolidation in this area, preferably above 2.2. I don't really want to see us like trade below one of the breakdown consolidations, which was like here. I don't really want to see a price below that, so it's like 2.1. If we're truly like really bullish, we should see some kind of consolidation in here. That's about as clean as you can get, to be honest. I don't know, do I have an updated chart for Sol? Guess I do.
Yeah, nice retest on 140 on Sol as well.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the 1 week levels. Yeah, this is a big move, actually. This is like the confirmation, I think, for Solana. So now, like, obviously, you'd want to see, in terms of like higher time frame, it's really just this level. Make sure it's exact. That's like above this. It's the same on ETH, actually. So yeah, I think this weekend is basically a time to lock in, find your key levels, note your confirmations, then essentially await the like 1 week close. Then like trading throughout Asia, Europe, and US on Monday will be extremely important. And plus, we do have a narrative coming up, actually. Also, there'll be a bunch of Fed bullshit essentially today, I think. Yeah, so like Tuesday is going to be CPI. So, obviously if this is lower than expected, that's pretty it's for April data, which means hypothetically tariff data, like tariff influence should show up here. Or tariff related pricing should show up.
Yeah, that's going to be one of the narratives, right, for May, for the rest of the May, and of course for June, to see the first real effects of the tariff wave.
Yeah, if they're not shown here, markets is going to, I think, continue higher basically till the data comes in. I won't be surprised if you see some selling into this CPI. So probably like late Monday. If that happens, I'll be looking at it, especially to see what larger pockets are doing. Yeah, especially if we get I'll just go to BTC, change to this.
Well, yeah, you're right, because again, the game theory. So they are, front running the good, or the cooler CPI print, and then selling the news, selling the daily release after potentially a pump or something like this. I can visualize.
Yeah, so these are the three key levels, like in the most simple way, basically for this current range, right? Yeah, let's say Bitcoin probably just chops around a bit, right? Actually, probably doing 4 hours. It's like cleaner. And Tuesday is this. Yes, we have some room, right? Wriggle room. So we could, do that before the actual move. I wouldn't be surprised to see liquidity essentially get hunted both ways, especially going into CPI. That's what they tend to do. And obviously the weekly open, which tends to act as like a pivot.
I think you're another layout now.
Yeah, I'm on a high time frame one.
Okay.
This is just where I try to keep it simple, because like the main trading stuff, I'll show you the main trading, which is the main. It has like a lot.
Yep. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. But this is the one I mainly trade with when it comes, because it has my systematic emails, it has the key opens, it has did that just like delete my fixed volume profile? What the heck?
Or just hidden? No.
No, it's not hidden. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so this is the previous key range. Yes, like 102.2 roughly. That's where the previous value area high is.
Roughly, or 102.5 is one of my I think that was a key for our POC too. And yeah, for a while it was the value area high. Yeah, that's definitely a key pivot in that zone, like similar to what we have for 97.2 or 3.
It's already getting respected, actually. It's kind of rare, but also a good sign.
Yeah, overnight we held that, especially after that big spike to 104.1. It dropped back, and even I think 2 days initial balance low is that level. So the key, I think, if we lose that, then that's a good scalp short or day trade short down to when the bid depth or passives are stepping in.
Yeah, true. We could have a look at that too.
Oh yeah, and yeah, I'm talking about the bid depth. Another very interesting characteristics I have observed throughout the week or this move is if you compare the spot behavior and how ask heavy was the spot, and while at the same time, perps were constantly like bid skewed, like all the way up. It was really
Yeah, they
really
were.
interesting to observe how they use perps too.
Well, I think a lot of it was like market being net short, right? They're essentially fucked if they don't cover, right? So yeah, they have to scale out. Like causes a pretty consistent bid depth because they're trying to constantly scale out the best price. If they don't, they get liquidated, right? So yeah, we can actually just see that. Like each of these, especially like these bids that move up to price, these tend to be half actual, like buying, like a big firm wants to get long, but at the same time, especially in grids like that, it tends to be they're trying to scale out of their shorts. So like quite here, but they'll be like closing shorts like rapidly into price. I mean, yeah, it's pretty clear that like someone was trying to suppress the market, especially around 100K. Like it was being defended aggressively, primarily by perps, more than like spot, which is your clear like outlier when you get a disconnect between derivatives and spot market. That's like your window of opportunity. Essentially, like here where derivatives is short bias or doesn't think price will go up, so then you have to go to your spot order book and then the data as well to see what price is this. This is like just before 100.
Yeah, and I
So it's
think
like here.
yeah. And I think there was still negative funding overnight before the 100K breakthrough, as I can recall.
Yeah, then it was clearly being shorted.
And the same supply or ask or the same offer or amount of asks I have seen was similar to 92.5 or 92 when that breakout we had. That was around 80 or sorry 800 BTC on Binance, and this time it was about 500. So key pivots for sure on this rally.
Yeah. Oh, I can do that. Cool. I was like, no hide function. Yeah, I should get them to build up. But yeah, you know how we had like a pretty consistent passive buyer basically throughout this range. I think I wouldn't be surprised, especially off like the 93K low and all these lows. That passive buyer is the one that is quoting all this ask liquidity here, because it'd be in their best interest to take profits. Yeah, especially when they're up like 10%. Because obviously, if you're bidding 100 mil, being up 10% is like free money to them. So yeah, 103 is being before the high. That's the level for the market to break either today or into the weekly open. I think closing the weekly open above these highs and 103K would be like really strong.
And also, I think that would create like a face ripping rally over the weekend, probably.
Oh yeah, if we start cracking 103k and buying, especially like buy volume picks up, then yeah, you're gonna see some chasing for sure. That's when you start to tap like 105, probably 106 as well.
I mean, if Besant is talking the right things or communicating the right things on Saturday, yeah, who knows? God weekly candle.
Potentially, yeah. There was some Fed 80% tariff from China seems right. It's up to cost minute. Okay, so interesting. He's gone from doubling down on 105. I mean, 145% tariff to about 80%. That's a significant reduction. Closed markets don't work anymore. Okay, this is just Trump yapping about random shit. Yeah, so generally the Fed is convinced the labor market's sufficiently stable. Yeah, keep in mind most businesses are essentially awaiting data, right? So if data is crap, they lay off a lot of people. So then that's when the Fed becomes positioned incorrectly. That's where Fed policy error happens. Because I mean, the labor market's only stable till it's like not, and that really just comes down to how many people are hiring, like how many businesses are hiring, what is growth like, are people spending on goods and services. We know at the moment like hiring's pretty low, spending's dropped, businesses aren't looking to hire as well, and then obviously tariff data everyone speculates is going to hammer specifically key sectors that has to do with global trade, like shipping yards, trucking, freighting, etc.
Yeah, the current market narrative or catalyst seem to be coming down to like the Fed versus the trade negotiations with China and potential with the EU. That's what I see. That's where I see the market being the most reactive recently.
Yeah, I mean, like these 3 points. So economy has been resilient so far. That's like a deer looking into headlights before getting hit by like a truck, right? That's basically the Fed at the moment. Then the second thing, some risk, upside, blah blah blah, to do with inflation. Obviously, everyone knows that. But they're not talking about tariffs directly in terms of how that impacts GDP, how that impacts goods, the trade deficit, etc. These points they won't talk on, and that tells you they either know they're in a bad position, right, or they don't know, and both are not great in terms of like how it makes the Fed look. Yeah, same as like BOE, which has been dovish for a while. They're a bit hawkish now too. So everyone's doing the same, essentially, waiting for price impacts to hit the economy. and then basically deciding from there on, which gives you a very clear playbook, right? So that's like June, July is basically the confirmed window now. Potentially May, but more likely to be June, July. So obviously, if prices are higher and growth is sluggish, that means obviously like equities probably sell off, and people dive into trying to time the trade in terms of, you know, everyone trying to do the big short 2.0 trade. So, you know, an example is probably, you know, February. So, you know, this period was the example, right? So if like bad data comes, you probably get a repeat of that. If there's good data, then you essentially get what we've had today.
The full recovery.
Yeah. Well, more likely actually breaking out. But yeah, it leaves you with like two things, right? Lack of liquidity, I think, in risk, and I'm going to say higher volatility when it comes to the unexpected move. So, you know, if you know the week leading in, which is like now, like markets are pretty risk on, right? If the data comes in like hot, that's going to cause a spike in volatility.
So that's one indicator to I think that's gonna be like tell us what's gonna be, what's coming, right? Because
Well, yeah, I mean, like if you want to kind of a trade and also some edge here, shorting like volatility into like key data releases, CPI, PPI, especially when the market expects, you know, significant movement around it, is more or less like shooting yourself in the foot than you had at the same time. And I mean, I can imagine some firms are definitely going to try short like
100%.
volatility indexes, and they're going to get blown out.
And you know what you just said about, you know, the data, and so how I see is pretty much the same, because till the data comes, so it's lagging, right? So till
Correct.
the whole till we get a full idea of what's happening in each sector, where we see the full footprint of the tariffs is lagging, and market is probably just, again, moves from liquidity to liquidity, right? And since
Yeah.
we sold off so hard to Liberation Day, it was the least resistance path, as I feel so far. And yeah, as you could as you told very well, once we see like data dropping, that's going to be probably the local top. Yeah.
The good old macro cucking, kind of like 2022, to be honest.
Yeah, I think if you spend enough time here, you just see these games, what's going on here, these liquidity games, right?
Yeah, definitely. We can actually go back. I'll show you what I meant by 2022.
And who would have guessed here like 9 straight green days, right? That was
True. I kind of feel like, you know, the market's somewhere here, to be honest. So, you know, we basically had, you know, all of this, right? Now we're getting this at the moment. And then obviously, if, you know, the market goes like that, that's because, you know, inflation actually rips up more than expected. Prices are high. Demand, goods, trade are all going to get smacked in the face, right? Then obviously the markets shit themselves essentially and go back to the lows, right? And obviously where that's wrong would be, yeah, probably where it gaps up. So like December 2023 was a good example. It's like this is, you know, what you're going to get if data is actually not as bad as people think.
plus we see some good trade deals, right?
Yeah,
Like a
correct.
combination of those, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's hard to tell, right? We do not have that deep insight about the likelihood of like data coming in, better than expected.
Yeah, it's coin toss. I think
It is.
insiders will know, and there'll be some blaringly obvious stuff in order books, like a few hours to probably a day before. Like tech will perform really shit or really, really well. So I can remove that now since that's played out. Yeah, yes, so far as shopping around here. I mean, that makes sense. It's your logical point of resistance. BTC as well is at its logical point of resistance. Like, yeah, 103, 105. Same with ETH. I mean, it would have made more sense if ETH was chopping around 2.2, but it went higher, like a lot higher than I think anyone expected. Oh, actually, not true. There's one trader that expected that, and that was Honey, actually. Yeah, she nailed that ETH trade.
I mean, the compression here on ETH looks a little bit similar to what we saw on BTC around Easter, right?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, this compression with the systematic.
Yeah, correct. Yep. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
just one of
I
your
mean,
biggest.
that's blaringly obvious that you're going to get a huge move when it squeezes that much.
Yeah, that's a plus setup for sure.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the dollar as well in like ages. Okay, so it's back up a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it's not really bad till it's above, like 102 ish, roughly. This was the previous area, like where Treasury Fed and whatnot would do their usual shenanigans to try prop up the dollar. We'd be able to see it as well with the euro. Feature, interesting. Yeah, so like this multi-year resistance.
Yeah, pulling back slightly.
It does look like a local top, at least for the euro. It's like 110 would make sense, and then maybe like 101, 102 for like DXY before like the next macro leg up, maybe. And then like the 2
and then
years.
the yields. That's what I wanted to bring up. Yeah, the yields.
Yeah, I mean this makes sense. So the expectation, right, from macro perspective is higher prices, higher inflation, right? Which means plus a hawkish Fed. So the 2 year is likely going to find it difficult to break through 3.5% or 3.4%, right? Until there's a like slowdown in growth, lower prices or lower prices, better growth. Actually, there would be two outcomes. So no recession, right? Yields probably remain around where they are, like 4% to maybe 3.7, like roughly. Quite recession, then you would see obviously the 2-year yield below 3.4. Yeah, 10-year moving higher.
It's interesting.
Each time, like the 30-year got up to this point, something broke every single time, and the Fed had to discreetly intervene. Yeah, 4 point. Yeah, like 4 point, like above 4.9 is like the pain point for many things in the U.S. economy.
And we are on the edge.
Yeah,
well.
so gold will probably be the watch above like 4.9. If it maintains above 4.9, gold will probably be pretty strong.
Yeah, but why would you buy gold when you have Fartcoin? I really don't get the logic behind this play.
You should go ask BlackRock that one.
I wish that they would answer my call.
Go to where's the headquarters in France? It's like Paris, I think, right?
I don't like France. I don't want to go there. Like
Come on, do it for CG.
my French no bueno, and their English no bueno.
No,
too.
bueno. It's not Spanish.
I have no idea, but
That's Spanish, bro.
Yeah.
Get access to settings. Oh yeah, I should share my indicator with the Cantina people.
The moving averages, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I have a few. I've made a few. I just use this one the most.
Okay, that would be super. I'm looking forward to it for a long time now.
Yeah, sure. I'll make it like private for Cantina members only, probably.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, more than ideal. Maybe like, yeah, total 3.
Yeah, I wanted to look at this. We like briefly touched on it. I tend to look at total from like a 1 day, 3 day, 1 week perspective. It's more high time frame stuff, right? So this move up is likely driven by ETH strength, right? Technically, I mean, I wouldn't exactly call it a change until we get above like yearly open and 935 bill, like roughly. That's I think above there. That's where you start to see like alt valuations inflate again, kind of quite similarly to I guess in terms of like the move, we're probably like here, I guess. But it's not the same because here, we were consolidating with the previous high, so the breakout was obvious. And that was after the election, right? So, good macro data. We have a really strong narrative for alts for like the rest of the year. BTC dominance as well. I saw quite a few posts on this coming down.
Also with the ETH volume, right?
Yeah, the ETH volume is pretty big.
Hi, there is a question about your systematic EMAS indicator.
Yeah, I was answering that. That's the level 4. So
okay,
I'll open it to the Cantina members later.
Perfect.
So the Discord members.
Yeah, so I think check into Cantina and you will see soon coming into the resources channel.
Yeah, correct.
Hot
Um,
hot Cantina summer. That's the tweet.
100%.
Nice. So yeah, but potentially for like Bitcoin dominance, we could see something like this again. Potentially. That'd be really, really good for alts as well.
When do we had something similar? 2021 summer. Can you scroll back to that time? Maybe. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh yeah, it's March. Yeah,
So
May. Yeah, the
January.
DeFi summer. Yeah. Well, maybe not this drastic.
This was, yeah. I mean, that was dramatic. I'll overlay as well Bitcoin's price.
Please, God, give me such summer so I can hang out with my homies in Discord and have the best time of my life.
Yes, like it only really happened when we had the peak, like the third peak. That's when dominance fell off a cliff. So like comparatively, we're probably, what, like here potentially.
Yeah, I think that's a good reference.
Because we're testing the current all-time high, and then obviously price impulse higher would cause, I think, a breakdown in dominance. So yeah, we'd have to see something like that. Like this. But I think the breakdown in dominance would be kind of like this, waterfall. And then we also have stablecoin dominance as well, which tends to be a better track. Let's overlay with ETH actually specifically. All right, so where's 2021?
But I mean, when you've got such an interest in ETH, like what we saw in the past 24 hours, it's not a coincidence. It's not a mistake, right? So that's some serious capital flowing in.
Yeah. Okay, so this was DeFi summer basically. That's where we saw dominance bottom out, as well as like ETH was more correlated to Bitcoin, I would say, here than this. Yeah, that's interesting. Like ETH's massive spike here as well. That's straight capital going into the market. Yeah, we dropped a lot. I mean, like 1% drop on this is big. That's interesting as well. The market seems to be chasing alts primarily. So obviously, when stablecoin dominance as a whole drops, like the price of ETH will skyrocket. Then when it goes back up, ETH like shits itself.
Please take it back.
The rotation.
Wait, what? You want ETH to sell off?
Oh no, I understood that if is going down, and yeah, sorry, I don't know, I'm not that sharp today.
You're not prepared to see that so soon, right?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I can't understand why much pudgy penguins are down when if is up, but I don't mind. Like if they are down 0.5% and if it's up 25%, I can accept it. Yeah.
It's probably just a case of it was the coin that was chased the most. We can see that from volumes as well exploding.
Yeah, I think I've seen that on some exchanges, if had bigger volume than Bitcoin. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Across the board, it had that, which is pretty rare, by the way.
You do not often see that.
No, which is also why I really don't want the market to top yet, because it would look pretty bad.
Well, I think really if it depends on today's session, and the close, of course, the daily close is going to be really important going into the weekend. I think we've got like every chance to see like a nice weekend for alts.
Yeah, I
When it's
agree.
not this time, you know.
Yeah, this Arkham tool is actually pretty good. But yeah, as we can see, like memes are outperforming by a significant amount. Then it's DeFi related. Then AI. So like, yeah, the top 3 sectors at the moment are obviously AI, then DeFi, then meme. And what are the top memes? Tron, cat theme. What the fuck is cat themed? Solana meme. Yeah, I know a lot of people chasing Solana memes. AI agents. That makes sense. Actual AI memes. Layer 0 outperforming. Interesting. I mean, that would be like mages, I guess. Interesting. They have like an altcoin season index. Says 30%. So it's Bitcoin season at the moment, by that definition. This is pretty cool, actually. So this is okay. AI agent launchpad was one of them. Yeah, virtual 15%. Fat.
Is it predefined? Haven't seen that, but looks definitely promising.
Holy shit! Why is spec down 37%? Did they rug or something?
I have no idea. Sny, actually, I know that shitter. Yeah, Ray, I used to have that too. Arc. Yeah, Ray actually and Arc, they have the MVP narrative. I'm not sure what that is, but it sounds smart. Uh, yeah, and apparently they have really good solutions. I have friends who are like really good developers and they test those stuff in our cabal. Yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah. I'm. I really would like to see another AI meta and easy money mode.
Don't wheel, man. I'm actually curious. What is Zoo themed?
Yeah,
Project.
Mooden seems like a
Um,
stupid pump.
it seems like the Solana memes from like 2023, 2024 ish. Kind of seems pretty similar to that. Yeah, a lot of like the similar memes as well.
Also,
Like,
pop cut doesn't look bad at all if it breaks through the current resistance. It looks pretty decent chart wise.
gotcha. I wonder Murad's list. How are they doing? Mog. 60%. Damn. Okay, so like most are now quite in the positive, at least on the 1 month. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Especially when you get like a chart like this. It's like global data, right? And then you see, obviously, the 47 bill here would be probably memes. You can see Moodang here, Pepe, Trump, even.
Could you check hype chart a bit later? I'm curious about your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I can have a look now if you want.
And guys, before you start, I gotta jump real quick. If I'm able, I'll jump back in.
No worries. We'll probably finish it up in a few anyway.
And are you planning to move over to Cantina? No.
Probably later. I want to get a few other things sorted out first.
Yeah, ping me, please. Then I think I'll be available in an hour or so.
Thank you very much.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you too. Thank you too. Sorry, but gotta move over here real quick. So,
Well, man, have a good
but it
one.
was a pleasure as always, and take care.
It is.
Cheers.
So, Delta.
Yes, sir.
Hype alpha?
But on me?
You want some alpha?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I try to be active on Hyper EVM. I hit 5x yesterday on a shitter, but I keep holding it out. And I don't know. I'm thinking about maybe taking some profits and rotating into those more risky assets. But I don't know. Uh, I've been a buyer
I mean, if you
mainly.
take profits, then yeah, you could use like, I don't know, like 10%, maybe 20% if you're more on the risky side to basically put it into like some promising shitters, I suppose. Especially if like the market is still, strong, appetizing. So like obviously monitor that through the weekend, I think.
Yeah, but
Um,
I think I'm rather to sell my BTC here than hype, since I believe it can keep outperforming, and then like rotating in the end of the day everything into Bitcoin. I've been a buyer of hype under $12, 10, 11. I think we've been discussing that there. Yeah, no, I haven't taken any profits yet. But I don't know. It reclimbed the most important level, and maybe it's gonna fly to 40, $50. Who knows?
yeah, I mean, I think like this is pretty clean actually. So this is the previous distribution range, let's call it, right? So we have the clear area of resistance, right, which is like above like 26, 27, 27, 29-ish, right? And then also the value area high, right? So eventually, I mean, I'm surprised it didn't test it already, given BTC's performance. But I think around 23 and the yearly open, so like 24-ish. That's where you want to see buyers show up.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty good trade for me, but I still gamble away like 70% of my airdrop. Yeah.
Good old CT, CT
Yeah.
way, man.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, it's kind of funny, but yeah, that's the way you learn those things.
Yeah, true, true. Kind of reminds me, you know the streamer called Toji?
Yes, I think I know it.
You probably would. I mean, he's quite popular amongst people our age. He's like a good example of a degen. Like when he makes a ton of money gambling, he doubles down on it typically, and then like loses like 60 to 80% of it. Then with like the 10% he has left, he makes like even more.
Yeah, so
It's completely insane.
yeah, it's kind of similar with me, I would say. So I don't know. I made a lot of money on hype. I made a lot of money on virtual. I started rotating to hype to virtual, and when I don't know, hype was like 23, 4, and virtual was like 3.6. Yeah, a
Nice.
lot of mistakes, but as I said, that's the way we learn. And I don't think I was prepared for huge money. Maybe I was, and I just bullshit now and trying to find an excuse. But uh, yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm a little bit less retarded. So and I can feel that this is the kind of market I'm good at. I think I've said it so many times already, but also like so much is happening, like abstract, hyper EVM. It's such an easy mode in terms of like easy money when you have decent ROI. You just need to sacrifice your time and really lock in and try, because like you can be a decent trader, but you need to watch the charts. But in my opinion, you have part time when you just watch charts and can click something in the background and make your time even more valuable, like make the best out of that. Like there's going to be a few months when you can change like everything in your life just if you try hard enough.
Yeah, true. I mean, I've seen this across, I think, a lot of like point based programs, like airdrops, right? Airdrop meta as well. Especially since hype, I think, reinstated the riches or rich potential of airdrop farming, right? So that's why people are farming whatever like point system possible.
Yeah, so with hyper EVM, it already has like 1 bill TVL, so it's a lot. But I don't feel like many people actually are trying to farm that. I don't know why. So my thesis is those guys who made dozens of millions in airdrop, like 5, 10, 15, or even 100. I know a guy who made like 100 mil out of that, not in person, but yeah, you know what I mean. And those guys
Yeah,
is bridge there, and they have majority of LP, so it's hard to make money out of LPing on those dexes. And most of those dexes have like some point system, but I'm quite sure there is an edge which you can get the best out of it. Uh, yeah. Also, abstract is so easy to use. Like I literally ask my sister to play some games and she plays for me, so I don't have to waste my
huh.
time.
you,
uh
you gonna share some of it with her
yeah, of
in
course.
terms of
Like
what you're saying?
so far I pay her $3 per hour. Yeah, and if she does decent job, I will get her a cut of the airdrop. I'm joking with the $3, of course, but
Bro. I mean, I know you're making like a sweatshop joke with that one.
yeah. So I I'm so bullish long term. I'm not sure still about the next week or two, because with this first wave on cheaters, there's often like another, the final flash out. Uh, uh, yeah, and then we run those turbo back. But we'll see. Like I'm prepared for both scenarios. During this stream, I was closing my old position, which I still have kind of conviction, but there's not much happening, and it's all about money cost alternative. Yeah, but don't do what I do. Like guys, if you listen to that, I'm retarded. So yeah, don't do it.
Yeah, look, my closing thoughts, at least on that kind of like way of trading and investing in crypto. Is obviously timing is of the essence when it comes to these kinds of trades, right? You either have to be early, or you get in at the point the tide is turning. That's where you make like most of the easy money. And same as like when you see like a rewarding program that could be highly beneficial just based off like passive time.
Yeah, I mean, easy comes, easy goes. But
I guess,
eventually,
yeah.
at some point, you learn how to keep some money, and don't be fooled, and don't be hooked to the all-time folio. I think all-time high folio. That's not going to help you with your trading.
Oh, and what, like having all-time high portfolio value?
Yeah, so like liberate yourself from your all-time high net worth, I would say.
Yeah, to be honest, bro, I completely ignore that. Like I have long-term, short-term portfolios, right? I ignore it. Just like the notional value or like how much I'm up, right? Because it does affect your decision making. It makes you too comfortable, makes you complacent. That's where you make the most errors. This is like absolutely true. So what I do is I focus simply on the trade thesis, what's happening in the market now, what do I need to do now, what do I need to do next. Like keep it quite simple but objective. Yeah, Bitcoin's chopping. It's probably just going to chop this morning, same as ES. I'll probably I don't know, ignore the first hour or two of the day, then have a look and see what it's like. That's pretty much my plan. And then like keep an eye on alts, especially after like daily close later. Other than that, I think that's pretty good for like today's stream. Anything else you want to go over?
I mean, I think we already covered everything. So you covered the smart stuff. I covered the degen stuff. Happy
True,
to hang
true.
out with you guys in the cantina. I won't be very active this weekend, but yeah, see you all there, and let's look in for the easy mode that is coming, and
Yeah, bro.
let's run it turbo back and even beyond anything before. Yeah, thank you guys as
That's
always, and talk to you next week.
absolutely. Catch you on the
Yeah.
next one.
Thank you, Skew. Bye bye.